Hello everyone. In the year 1960, Ethiopian Abebe Bikila was the first African athlete to compete in the Olympics and win first place for his country, who not only won 2 gold medals out of his career, but he also set the world's fastest maritime record a little over 2 hours, and he did it simply barefoot. Today, I will share with you the life of one of the greatest and inspiring East African marathon runner who changed sport history. Knowing who Abebe Bikila is shows what true determination and courage is when it comes to one man representing his country. I discovered Abebe Bikila from my dad, who got me interested to being a runner after high school. So first things first, I'm going to be discussing about his early life, then I'll be explaining about his achievements, and finally, we'll take a look after his career. So let's dive into the life of a legend. So first, I'll be sharing with you about Bikila's old life when he was in his homeland. Abebe Bikila was born August 7, 1932, in a small community in Jato, Ethiopia. His family was suddenly forced to move to the town of Goru because of the Second Italian-Ethiopian War. In Tim Judah's book, Bikila, Ethiopia's Barefoot Olympian, Bikila was a young barefoot shepherd boy who was used to walking and running several miles every day in search of feeding his cattle and sheep on top of sharp-pointed rocks surrounding his home. At age 13, he considered himself as a professional Gina player. Gina is an Eastern Orthodox tradition that is similar to the sport of hockey and rugby that is generally played on Ethiopian Christmas. And as he got older, he would continue to keep on playing the sport. Around 1952, at the age of 20, he spent a number of years as an imperial guard under the Ethiopian Emperor Haile Selassie. When he was in training, he would have to run 12 miles to the hills of Sasolta to Addis Ababa and back every day. He was trained under the Swedish sports coach Ani Niskanen, who became Bikila's lifelong friend after he had seen Bikila's work ethic and soon brought him to the Olympics. In a 2008 magazine article called Runner's World, Ani Niskanen had been the coach for the Ethiopian long-distance running team ever since the Helsinki Olympics was held in the 1940s. But before that, he was a sports officer who volunteered for the war against the Soviet Union between 1934 and 1944, when Emperor Haile Selassie had asked for foreign aid from neutral Sweden, not being too dependent on Sweden. When he was younger, Niskanen had grown up to be a great long-distance running athlete along with his siblings, who even devised his own method that helped Ethiopia win most competitions called fartlek. Fartlek means speed play, where you have to increase your speed a couple of minutes while you're running. Niskanen, revealing this method to Ethiopia, had introduced famous international athletes into the world, such as Mamo Wold, who was a former teammate of Bikila in the Olympics, and Bikila himself. And this strategy is still used today among all athletes all over the world. At first, Bikila had never even thought about being an athlete until he watched the Melbourne Games. When he had witnessed 2 athletes sponsoring the country Ethiopia, he realized that this was a great way for him to sponsor his country worldwide. So, at the age of 24, he joined the National Armed Championships and competed against the hero at the time, Wami Baratu. He had broken Baratu's 5,000 and 10,000 meter records in the races and won first place, which helped him to grant access to competing in the Olympics. So now that I discussed to you about Bikila's early life, the next chapter that I move on to is his achievements. There are 2 great marathons that he became famous for, which I will go over. In the late afternoon on September 10th, in the city of Piazza del Campidoglio, the 1960 Rome Olympics was underway with barefooted Abebe Bikila sponsoring Ethiopia. The main reason why he ran barefoot was because his old running shoes had worn out, and none of the other shoes had made him feel comfortable. Plus, his coach had trained him and his other teammates to running up mountains on top of rocky soil barefoot. But according to a website on Media Ethiopia, what gave Bikila the courage to run the 26.2-mile race was answered with his comment, I wanted the world to know that my country, Ethiopia, had always won with determination and heroism. So he raced with 68 other racers from 35 different countries. He raced against other racers like Radi Ben Abdesalam, who was an Olympic long-distance running champion and an officer serving in the military from Morocco. He was Bikila's former main rival to the last 500 meters of the race. They were both neck and neck until they both crossed this 9-story building called the Obelisk of Axum. In a website on Encyclopedia on World Biography talking about Bikila, the Axum was a symbol of Ethiopia's religious faith, until Italy had taken the Axum from Ethiopia when Bikila was a baby. This became symbolic to Bikila's eyes, and so, with this in mind, along with Niskanen's coaching on fartlek, he increased his pace and passed Abdesalam, taking the lead and beating him by 35 seconds. This had not only won a gold medal for Ethiopia for the very first time in the Olympics, but he also set the world's fastest marathon time in 2 hours, 16 minutes, and 2 seconds, beating the great Emil Zatopek from ever since the Helsinki Olympics. 4 years later, he joined the Tokyo Olympics until he became sick with appendicitis. He went through surgery and was still in recovery 6 weeks before the next Olympics would start, but that didn't stop him from competing, so he resumed training a couple days later after he arrived in Tokyo. His fame had grew even more when he won another gold medal for Ethiopia and broke even another world fastest maritime record with 2 hours, 12 minutes, and 11 seconds. He had competed in over 26 world marathons and became famous all over the world, mostly in Africa. So now that we've talked about his achievements, the last chapter that I move on to about Bikila's life is after his career. I'll discuss on how he concluded his career because of a misturn of events. In 1969, he was involved in a car accident in Addis Ababa, and unable to ever walk again, he joined other sports such as archery, table tennis, and even participated in cross-country sledge championships. But shortly later, he died from a brain hemorrhage in 1973 at the age of 41. Emperor Haile Selassie had set up a state funeral for him with 65,000 people attending, and he left behind his wife and 4 kids. In the 1983 interview with 2 hosts on 2 fast tracks, the history of distance running, they both discussed about Bikila's incident and how it affected him. By going over Bikila's old response, men with success meet with tragedy. With Bikila, he had already known that it was the will of God that he would win the Olympics, as well as meeting with his tragedy. And he already accepted the fact that he was unable to be able to walk again, and so he was able to live through these circumstances for the remainder of his life. I have now told you about the life of the great Ethiopian Abebe Bikila, who has shifted sports history with his grace and endurance. I talked about his early life, his achievements, and after what he did after his career. So take a moment to acknowledge the life that this man had and realize the determination and heroism that he had shown for his country.